Hey, good morning, everybody. Dr. Nicole Birkins here. I wanted to take some time this morning to talk to you about artificial sweeteners and about some of the dangers of artificial sweeteners that you may not be aware of, especially as it pertains to your child's physical health, but even more importantly, your child's mental health. There's a blog post that I am putting up here shortly that covers a lot more information about artificial sweeteners, gives you the names of them, that kind of thing. But I thought it might be fun to go through some products and ingredients this morning just to kind of show you what to look for at the store, because I know it can be super confusing when you're at the grocery store to try to figure out which ingredients are good, which products have things that are healthier versus not healthier in them. So just to kind of make you aware, if you aren't already, artificial sweeteners are non-sugar based sweeteners that are chemical in nature. That's the artificial word that goes with them. And you probably are most familiar with ingredients with names like aspartame, Splenda, NutraSweet. Those are some of the more common name brand types of artificial sweeteners. If you go to a restaurant, you see the little containers on the tables that often have different types of sugar in them. You'll see the sugar packets, but then you also see something that might look like this, like Splenda packets. You see the yellow ones, you see the blue ones. Equal is another name. Sweet and Low in the pink packets. Those are artificial sweeteners. They are non-sugar based sweeteners that can sweeten up whatever you put them in. And they really became popular many years ago when they were first developed as a no-calorie or low-calorie alternative to sugar. As more people became aware of the dangers of eating too much sugar, we were still looking for a way to sweeten things without having all the sugar in it. So that's where the artificial sweetener ingredients came in. And initially, the thought was, this is a great way to be able to have the sweet taste that we like without adding all of the calories to it. So it seemed like a great idea in theory, except as research began to come out about the impact of these kinds of artificial sweeteners, suddenly it seems like not such a good idea. Research that's been done on these indicates that they can be neurotoxic. They actually cause people to gain more weight. Many people who are diabetic or pre-diabetic are told to limit sugar and are still told that eating foods with these artificial sweeteners is a better, safer way for them to manage their blood sugar and to maintain a healthy weight. And actually what we know now is that these kinds of artificial sweeteners actually cause people to gain just as much weight, if not more weight. These artificial sweeteners are incredibly sweet. They are many more times sweeter to our taste buds than regular sugar. So people actually tend to develop more of a craving for them and tend to eat more than they would if they were eating regular sugar. So that's some of the research on the physical impact. But also we know now that these chemical sweeteners are linked to migraines and headaches, a lot of mental health symptoms, including increased irritability, hyperactivity, ADHD kinds of symptoms, behavior kinds of challenges. So there's a lot of reasons why we would want to avoid giving ourselves and especially our kids foods that have these artificial sweeteners or chemical sweeteners in them. But it can be really tricky to try to figure out when you're at the store and looking at ingredient labels what it is that you're looking for. And companies have become much more what's the word that I want to use? They've developed tricks to kind of make it more difficult for consumers to figure out what they should be doing with that. So I brought a bunch of things here today to kind of show you how you might look at ingredient packages and figure out what's going to be better options for you. Let me just check and make sure here that, because I want to be able to see if you have questions coming in, I want to be able to answer those. So let me take a peek here and just make sure. Okay. Great. So hopefully I'll be able to see questions if we have any. All right, so I showed you this box. This is a box of Splenda. Splenda is a brand name of artificial sweetener. and these would be the little yellow packets. And if you look on here, and you might not be able to see it very clearly, but there's the ingredient panel. And one of the names that you're looking for to avoid is sucralose. And sucralose is an artificial sweetener. It's one of these chemical sweeteners, and that's what is the main sweetener ingredient in Splenda. Now, aspartame is another big one. That's one you want to avoid. There's actually, you know, over 15 different names that these go by, and it can become tricky. So in the blog post that I'm linking below, I actually give you a list of all of the chemical names of the sweeteners you want to avoid. What I find is that typically sucralose, aspartame, and acesulfame potassium are some of the most common ones that you would see on a label that you want to watch out for. So let's take a look at a few labels here and see. So let me show you this one. This is a package of mandarin oranges. And so you might look at this at the store and think, you know what, oranges, that's great, healthy, I want my kids eating more fruit. It's a nice, you know, convenient package. I can send it in their lunch or for a snack. And on the front of this label, it says no sugar added. Now, these are marketing copy or wording that you really want to watch for, because if it says no sugar added, and then it's also got the words artificially sweetened, you want to watch out for that, because when we flip the ingredient label around and take a look on here, what we see is that, yep, there's mandarin oranges in here, and there's water, and there's ascorbic acid, but then we get to the sweetener part, and we've got acesulfame potassium and sucralose, 2 artificial sweeteners in this. So while the oranges themselves, oranges are healthy, obviously, we would want to avoid this product because there's actually 2 artificial sweeteners in here, and those are chemicals that can lead to problems for our kids, so we wouldn't want to give them these. You would want to look for some that just have oranges and water in them, or if they are going to use a sweetener, maybe a little bit of natural sugar that's added to it. You want to avoid the ones where they're using high fructose corn syrup, which is kind of a whole nother discussion. Maybe I'll do one of these on high fructose corn syrup another day. But you want to look for things that have as little added ingredients as possible, but definitely want to avoid these because of the acesulfame potassium and the sucralose. So let's take a look at some yogurts here. I grabbed some from the yogurt aisle, and this is a great example of deceptive marketing for consumers that makes it very difficult to know what it is that you're buying. So here's a Yoplait light yogurt, and you'll see here on the label it says no aspartame. Now, many companies have realized that people are aware of the problems with aspartame and are trying to avoid it. So they put no aspartame on the label. So you might look at this and go, great, it's a light yogurt, lower calories, not going to have all that, you know, sugar in it that I'm trying to avoid, and it doesn't have aspartame. The problem is when we turn it around and we look at the ingredient label on this, it's true that it does not have aspartame in it. However, it does have acesulfame potassium and sucralose. Again, 2 other chemical sweeteners, both of which we would want to avoid. So yeah, it doesn't have aspartame in it, but it does have other artificial sweeteners. So you really need to be careful about looking at the labels to see what's in it. So we would want to avoid this. Now, I'll show you 2 other yogurts that I found that have sweeteners that are appropriate and healthier choices. And you'll see on this label here, it actually says no aspartame, no sucralose, no high fructose corn syrup. So when I look at the ingredients, I'm thinking, okay, well, they're saying no aspartame and no sucralose. Maybe they put something else artificial in it. But when I look at the ingredients, they're using cane sugar as the sweetener in it, which, yes, is sugar. This is going to have a higher sugar content than something without sugar in it. However, if I'm going to choose something, you know, between these 2 yogurts, for example, yes, this one has higher sugar content in it. This one has 11 grams of sugar. This one has 10 grams of sugar in it. However, even though this has 1 more gram of sugar, this is going to be a much healthier choice because it uses natural cane sugar. It does not use the nasty artificial chemicals that are in that one. So let's look at this one. Here's another one from the same brand, same thing, no aspartame, no sucralose. When I look to see what the ingredients say about the sweetener, this one is using organic agave nectar, and that is another sweetener option. And this one has 9 grams of sugar in it. So there's no chemical or artificial sugars or sweeteners in this one. So this one would also be a good choice. Let's see. Let's go to some beverages here. I grabbed a couple of these because often I have people who come into the clinic and they will say, well, I have my child drinking these vitamin waters or Gatorades or things, they like the taste of them and I want them to get, more fluid throughout the day. And very often they'll say, well, I'm trying to do the ones that don't have so much sugar in them, so I'm using these ones that, this one, for example, is Powerade Zero, or, there's some other brands where they say low calorie or low or no sugar, or, these 0 calorie kinds of things. And that sounds appealing initially from the standpoint of, great, I'm not going to load my kid up with sugar by having them drink this. Now, there's probably numerous other problems with this from the standpoint of, obviously, you can see it's bright red, the food dyes and things, but that's a topic for another day. If we just look at it from the artificial sweetener standpoint, when you see things like 0 calorie, you really want to be careful about reading the label because it's very possible that there's artificial sweeteners lurking in there. So when I look at the ingredients, and man, this is like teeny tiny here. Let's see. We've got sucralose, acesulfame potassium, along with a whole bunch of other nasty colorants and flavorings in this. But this has 2 artificial sweeteners. So yes, this is saying that there's less than 1 gram of carbs or sugars in this, but this has a lot of ingredients that can potentially cause problems for your child. And so this is not a great choice with the sweeteners that are in here. Now, a better choice would be something like this. I found this. This is a Gatorade product, Gatorade Organic. And in general, if you're purchasing something that says organic, you can be more confident even without maybe understanding everything that's on the label. Because if it says organic, it's not going to have the chemical artificial sweeteners in it. So if we look at this one has organic cane sugar in it. Let's take a look here. Yeah, water, organic cane sugar, that's the sweetener in it. Now, this does have many more grams of sugar. This has 29 grams of sugar. So I'm not recommending this as an exceptionally healthy choice from a sugar standpoint. However, if you are going to use, a drink like this periodically, something like this, even though it has a higher sugar content, the ingredients that are used are natural ingredients. You don't get those toxic artificial sweeteners, and so this is going to be a better choice than this. Even though this has a lot more sugar in it, the ingredients are going to be a healthier choice. Although, again, I do not recommend giving your child, a beverage on a regular basis with 29 grams of sugar in that. A couple other beverages that I found. Crystal Light is a common one that I hear from families and from adults that they drink Crystal Light. Maybe you grew up with it. These easy little packets that you can pour into your water. The issue with Crystal Light, and again, we've got that word light on the label, the issue with that is that it typically has a lot of artificial sweeteners in it. So yes, you're going to have lower calorie and lower sugar content, but the trade-off is the really nasty artificial ingredients. So this one has aspartame in it and acesulfame potassium. So those are the sweeteners in here. So they say natural flavor, and again, you have to watch that. They try to put words on the labels that sort of trick you into thinking that this is going to be a healthy choice. Just because it has the word natural on it doesn't mean that it's a great healthy option. 90% fewer calories than leading beverages, and again, you think, hey, great, less calories, less sugar, but you have to look at where the sweetness is coming from, and in here it's coming from aspartame and acesulfame potassium. Now, Crystal Light has also gotten on the bandwagon of healthier sweeteners, and they now make something called Crystal Light Pure that uses better options as far as the sweeteners. So this one has Truvia, which is a natural sweetener in it, and also uses some natural fruit sweeteners in that. So this one does have 3 grams of sugar, which is still not a lot. You're going to get a sweet taste from this, but the sweetness is coming from natural ingredients as opposed to the artificial chemicals that are in something like this. And so, you can look now, a lot of these brands are coming out with products that do have more natural, better ingredients in them. So it's not that, the brand itself is bad, it's that you have to be careful and watch for which product you're buying. Because if I was going to look at which beverage to drink for myself or to give to my kids, I'm going to choose this Crystal Light Pure with no artificial sweeteners in it, as opposed to the regular Crystal Light that's got those nasty toxic chemicals. All right, let's put these over here, and let's see what we can come up with next. Here is a granola bar or protein bar. And I wanted to highlight these because I have a lot of families who say, you know, I'm using granola bars or protein bars for my child to help them, you know, get an easy thing that they can pack in their lunch or take with them maybe to sports practice or whatever. And so it can be compelling to read some of these labels and say, oh, this is a high protein product. Atkins, that's a diet that I've heard about that's supposed to be, you know, lower in sugar, and it can look compelling to see that this might be a good option. However, when we look at the label on this, and I know that you probably can't read it here, but I just want you to look at how long the list of ingredients is on this. Just from looking at that, without looking at it, you know, in more detail, I can see that this is a product that is filled with a ton of ingredients. And the more ingredients, typically, the further you're getting from something that is really a whole food. You're getting into very, very processed foods when you're having this many ingredients on the panel. But, you know, as I look down here and see, looking for the sweeteners, making my way through all the ingredients. Okay, they're telling me about the chocolate chips. They're telling me about the protein blend. I'm looking down here to see where the sweeteners are, and we get to that towards the bottom, and there we have right at the bottom sucralose and acesulfame potassium. So there again, you know, yes, this is a lower net carb product, lower sugar product, but we've got two really artificial sweetener ingredients in here that make this really a not healthy choice. This has 0 grams of sugar in it, again, because they're not using any actual sugar in this, and they're using 11 grams of sugar alcohol, which is your erythritols, your mannitols, those kinds of things, which are a better choice. Those do not fall in the category of artificial sweeteners. Those are sugar alcohols. However, they do have 2 artificial sweeteners tucked in here. And again, you have to be careful because you've got this huge ingredient label and you have to really read to see where those might be lurking. So this would not be a great choice as far as avoiding those kinds of chemical ingredients. I wanted to show you again just another brand because I picked on Splenda a little bit at the beginning by showing you this box that has sucralose in it, and that's originally what Splenda was known for, is, you know, being the artificial sweetener that has sucralose in it. But I want to show you again how this is another brand that is trying to address the fact that many consumers are aware that artificial sweeteners are not a healthy choice, and they're trying to avoid those. So Splenda now has come out with something called Splenda Naturals. So it's still the same brand name of Splenda, but this is made with stevia extract. And again, stevia is a natural sweetener. It's not an artificial sweetener. It's a natural sweetener. And so this one, when you look on the ingredient panel, you've just got 2 ingredients here. You've got erythritol and stevia leaf extract. So you've got a sugar alcohol and then the stevia. So this is going to be a healthier choice if you want to avoid using regular cane sugar. This is going to be a better choice than this. And again, it's tricky because they both have the brand name Splenda on them, but you really need to make sure that you know what you're looking for in terms of, you know, the natural product that has the sugar alcohols or the natural sweeteners as opposed to the artificial ones. Let me show you these because Valentine's Day is coming up. We tend to maybe buy, you know, some candy treats and things, and so I found these in the candy aisle. These are Reese's peanut butter cup miniatures, and they say sugar-free on them. Now, in general, when you see the word sugar-free on a label, that should be kind of a red flag for you that I need to look a little bit deeper at what the ingredients are, because it's true. They do not have sugar in them. However, when we turn this over and we look, the sweetener that they're using in these is sucralose, is a chemical artificial sweetener. So, yep, these aren't going to have the sugar in them, and in fact it says 0 grams of sugar. It's got 20 grams of sugar alcohol, so they're using, let's see what they've got in here. They're using mannitol as the sugar alcohol, which that's not, you know, bad. You don't want to eat that all the time, but that's not so much a problem. But they're also using the chemical sweetener sucralose. So these would not be a great choice. When you see that sugar-free label, you really need to look more at what's in the ingredients. I've got one more set of things that I wanted to share with you just from the standpoint of helping you see how careful you have to be about label reading. So I basically found 4 jars of Smucker's strawberry products. And you're not gonna be able to see these sitting on the desk, but I've got 4 of them sitting here, and I wanna show you how companies use labeling and the wording they use so you can really be a wise consumer in this area. So let's take a look. Here is just a jar of Smucker's Seedless Strawberry Jam, maybe a brand that you buy, that many families buy. And when we look on here, what we see is in here, there are 12 grams of sugar per serving in this. And I'm going to go to the ingredients to see where the sugar is coming from in this product. So we've got strawberries, we've got high fructose corn syrup and regular corn syrup and sugar. So this has a lot of different types of sugar, no artificial sweeteners in here. So with this product, we are avoiding things like aspartame and sucralose. However, we've got high fructose corn syrup and regular corn syrup and sugar in this. So quite a bit of sugar in this per serving, but it does not have artificial sweeteners in it. So that's the strawberry jam. Now, let's take a look at this one. Here is a Smucker's Strawberry Preserves product that advertises that it's sugar-free. Now remember, sugar-free is one of those sort of red flag labels that we want to be looking for. And it says sweetened with Splenda. So they're telling you right on the front, there's your brand name artificial sweetener right there. But we will turn over and look at the ingredients here. This is saying that there are 0 grams of sugar, again, because this is a sugar-free product, but they are using, let's see, they are using sucralose, which is what's in Splenda. So this one we would want to avoid, even though it doesn't have sugar in it, it has that artificial sweetener that can be detrimental to our health. So this one we would not want to do. Now let's take a look at this one. Here's another Smucker's Strawberry product. This is Strawberry Reduced Sugar Preserves. So here we've got the label low sugar, no artificial sweetener. Okay, so low sugar, this might be a good option. They're saying no artificial sweetener, so that's good. Let's take a look at the ingredients to see what's in it. This has 5 grams of sugar to it, so certainly, lower sugar than this one. And they are using just regular sugar, regular cane sugar in this product, but they're using a lower amount. So certainly from the standpoint of, tasting these, this one is going to taste a whole lot sweeter than this one is, because this has so much added sugar and high fructose corn syrup to it. So if your child is more used to eating super sugary things like this, it may take a little bit of getting used to have them, develop a taste for lower sugar, but this is still going to be very much the taste that they're used to in, this other product, but it's going to have lower sugar to it, not quite as sweet. So these can be good entry points to helping your child start to, switch from the higher sugar, very, very sweet kinds of products to something that's more natural. And this doesn't have any artificial sweeteners in it, so this would be a great option. The last one I wanted to show you, again, a Smucker's product. On the label here, it says Simply Fruit, Strawberry Spreadable Fruit. And it tells you on the front, in very small print, sweetened with fruit syrup from apple, pineapple, or pear juice concentrate. So this is telling us that they're using fruit juice as the sweetener. So if we take a look on the back, just to check, oh boy, really tiny here, let's see. Fruit syrup, strawberries, grape juice concentrate. So fruit syrup is what they're using to sweeten this. So this one does have 8 grams of sugar. So this one still has less than the one that has all the corn syrup and all the extra sugar in it. It's got a little bit more than what's in the low sugar product, but still a much, much healthier choice than the sugar-free option. Even though it has no grams of sugar, this one's got the nasty chemicals in it. So something like this that doesn't have those artificial sweeteners is going to be a better choice. So I wanted to show you the 4 of those because it's just interesting how 4 products from the same company that are essentially the same thing, they're strawberry jam, right? How the labeling is different and how you really can develop an understanding of what those labels mean and how you need to look for that. And really, again, the reason for spending time reading these labels and understanding this is because we know now what a detrimental effect these kinds of chemical sweeteners can have on our kids' health. Physical health, but also mental health. And so many of the kids that I see at the clinic are aggravated. Their symptoms are made worse by having these kinds of chemical sweeteners. I've had kids who come in with, migraines. They're getting migraines or headaches all the time. And we trace it back to, artificial sweeteners that are in their foods. And when we remove those, and sometimes some other things as well, the headaches get much better. I recently had a child come in who was drinking a whole lot of one of these types of zero-calorie drink products because he didn't like to drink water, so he was drinking a whole lot of that, and he was very irritable, very hyperactive, having a lot of outbursts, and just from removing those kinds of drink products that he was having throughout the day, marked reduction in those kinds of symptoms. So sometimes it really isn't complicated. There can be simple things like eating things with aspartame, sucralose, acesulfame, potassium, and other things in the list that I share in the blog post below. Removing those things can make a huge difference. So you really want to be aware of, maybe go through your cupboards and through your fridge and look at, are there things that I'm feeding my child on a regular basis that have these kinds of chemicals in them, and what might happen if I reduced or eliminated those? And when you understand how to read the labels on these products, it makes that easier. In my book, the Life Will Get Better book that came out recently, there's a whole section in there on artificial sweeteners as well. And again, going through the specific names of them, delving into all the reasons why you want to avoid those. So if you haven't picked that up yet, you can find a section in there on artificial sweeteners, along with a whole bunch of other nutrition suggestions to support your child's mental health. So you can check that out on Amazon or my website if you haven't already. Okay, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Hope you found that helpful. Hope you found it helpful. If you have specific questions about artificial sweeteners or any of the things I talked about, put them in the comments below. I'll definitely check back and we'll answer those as they come in. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great rest of your day.